Bitcoin breaking down. However, there are some key signals that suggest this may be a fake out to the downside, looking to make that move back within this zone. But there's some critical areas that we need to be paying attention to so this doesn't end up being another bull trap to the upside before another move down, because we're seeing major signals, not only in Bitcoin, but also in ETH. And the others chart, golly, what a signal I have for you. If you're watching this as a short, click the link at the bottom of this video and watch the full length. But everybody else, we're about to dive in and see exactly what's going on in these markets, because we got some major signals that are flashing right now. Let's get into it, everybody. Hold on to your butts, hit that like button, subscribe button, ding the bell. I'm about to share this out to all the channels. Let's go. Man, these markets are making me thirsty. Hope you guys are stacking. Hope you guys are patient. Hope you guys feel good. You look good. Your portfolios may be giving you anxiety, but don't worry. On my word, we're about to see some major things in this market. So if you are ready, hit that like button. I want to see GMs in the live chat. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on X, if you're watching on Rumble, make sure you are following. Let's get into it. Let's go. It has been a week. Holy moly. And I don't mean it's been 7 days. I mean, it's only Tuesday and it feels like it's Friday, because we have been hustling over at the Discover Crypto family, getting, moving new studios. I've been trying to do this, do content, do the research, but also pay attention to what's going on. And we got some key signals, price action scaring the living but Jesus out of everybody. In reality, when you're zooming out, when you're watching BitLab Academy, when you're watching Discover Crypto, when you're in the Discover Investments group, the Discord, which is pinned to the top of the live chat there, then you are hopefully on the right side of this trend if you're not falling victim to your emotions, because we're seeing key things here. On the one case, we do have this sort of falling wedge that has formed and has broken out of in a bearish faction down here all the way into the MiG 108s. And I called for the MiG 108s last week. And that's when price was, let's see where this is, Monday, Sunday, blah, 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 blah. It would have been somewhere about over here. We were talking about a potential breakdown into sub 110, right into this box. And let's look at this. Look at this. I mean, it comes right into the box that we've had outlined for some time. In a lot of ways, this is only testing the range of where all this volume has traded. This rejection back here. Remember when we broke to $109,000, how exciting that was? Do you remember how exciting $109,000 was? And now people are losing their minds thinking the market cycle's over, because we're just now effectively retesting that zone for the first time. Everybody, we need to be a little bit calmer here. Now it is August. Okay, back here, when we hit 109,000 the first time, that was January 21st, about around January 20th. But look at where we're at today. We moved up to 111. Oh, sell off, market's over. And then up here to 122, 123,000, sell off, it's over. And then yet again, new highs again, 124, 600, right up in this zone, sell off, it's over. We need to stop being so quick to think that the market is over just because we're getting a little minuscule yet necessary pullback to the downside. In fact, I think a lot of people will just absolutely be wrecked emotionally and in some ways financially, making stupid decisions if the price action does swing down into these zones that we have had highlighted and we're prepared for. I don't want this. But again, the markets don't care what you want. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. And this is the cycle of broken expectations. Now, why would that be bullish? The difference of what I'm talking about here, the broken expectations is everybody was hoping for just this continued parabola to the upside. Well, when you zoomed in on this, and I've broken this down before, this was, I think, 11 moves of 15% or more to the downside, and 8 of them being a roughly 35 to 40%. Look at that, 30% right here. Also down here, look at that. That was 35%. You see this from the swing high there to the low. Almost 40%. Yet again, right here. Oh my God, almost, look at that, 36%. And yet we're sitting over here. Just to put this in context, everybody, we're sitting over here with people losing their minds off the high, and we're down about 10% right now, right at about 10, 11% to the downside. There's a lot lower this could go that would wreck a lot more people, and yet it could still remain entirely on the midterm macro stage, very bullish, especially with what we're considering with all of the incredible buying power that's coming in. So shout out to everyone that's holding on to their butts, taking advantage of these dip gifts. These dips are a gift. Take advantage of them. Every single one of you, including myself, has seen price rise and you feel like, oh, I don't have enough yet. And then we completely forget that when we get the dip and a buying opportunity at lower prices because we're scared. We're not going to be scared anymore. No, we're looking at the data. We're looking at the ingredients. We're looking at the context of the market. And it is overwhelmingly bullish despite what we're seeing in the near term. We're going to come back to these charts in here in just a second. I got a couple great TA charts we're going to be looking at within the altcoins as well. But we got to cover a couple things here because there's some major considerations here. I just want to re-highlight this and refresh this here and highlight the fact that we are seeing still, look at this. We're almost on the low side of this. People are getting into the fear. They're getting scared here. And yet none of these market cycle top indicators have hit. The amount of the ignorance and the emotionality of this market overwhelms my senses because we can see the data. We can see the stage that has been set and it's only getting stronger by the day. And yet we get a 10% move to the downside and people lose their minds. Yet we still see on the fear and greed sentiment, it's still near neutral, but we're still basically oscillating around that $4 trillion market cap level. Now, when we come over here, we realize that we've got overwhelming moves to the upside that are in store. And I still think we're going to hit somewhere in these targets. As we've talked about time and time again, we just barely broke through this key level right here. In fact, if we want to look at this on the chart, let me come out here, go to my other chart right here. Let's go to the weekly chart. Actually, let's go 3-day right here. This is that chart. This is it, basically as it updated. I think we printed this chart. I posted it on June 11th or 12th, which would have been right here. We had not yet broken out of this zone. Well, looking at this without expectation, without the need of it going up or breaking down, what do we see? We see price action interacting with this key level that has been a key level since it started back here in April 2021. So this is the start of the trend line. This is where it was substantiated, kind of formed, projecting out up into the future. And we know it's valid because look at all of this interaction here. Fake out up, okay, rejection here. Fake out. What do I mean by fake out? What I mean is, let me move this down. You see the price action actually did break through it, came back down, now rejected under it, now rejected under it. Now, finally, boom, clears the liquidity, boom, pushes it up above it. And now look, comes down, bounces on it. And now we're getting a very similar thing as we saw here with the fake outs up. I do believe more than anything that this is going to be a fake out to the downside. Now, remember, when price was starting to run away to the upside and we were looking at this, it started feeling like this was kind of irrelevant. Remember, just to prove my point, look at this. This is June 11th. We have the gift from God buy zone. Boom, right down here in that 74 all the way up to about the $95,000 range. And so when we look at this on the chart, still there. Okay, I kind of shrank the bottom side up a bit, but this is that gift from God buy zone. Why do I say that? Because when you realize there's levels that the price action can move to, in fact, there's higher or lower possibilities based on the context of the data we're looking at. And right now we got the move to the upside. Everybody's so expecting of the targets that a lot of people are looking at up here in the 188, 240,000, 322,000. These are just general ranges. I think it's going to be right here in the basically 180 to 220, this sort of range right here. But because people see these targets to the upside, they forget on the way there, we have these spills to the downside to make it worth the wait for those of us that can be patient. Because when you realize this and you realize that there's a possibility of the market moving down, then this becomes a gift. not something that is just destructive to you. This becomes destructive if this becomes destructive if you bought somewhere up in these regions and then on the price move down here, you end up selling lower than you bought. In fact, if you bought anywhere here, you should be in the mode of holding for 4 years or more. I would argue that, but everybody's got different requirements for capital in their lives and everything. Bro, Koshi, no dinero. I haven't seen you in so long, man. Big love to you. Shout out. We've got 1,300 people tuned in here between Rumble, X, and YouTube. Shout out to each and every one of you. I just want to remind you right now, looking at these charts, looking at this zoomed out, the possibility of what is going to unfold. Because we're looking up here in these upper zones, do not forget of the opportunities that do present themselves to the downside. When you realize these opportunities below, this doesn't become stressful as the price action moves towards it. This doesn't feel like, Kelly, the market's crashing. Why? I go, yo, guys, the market's providing us better opportunity. Stack. And there's many reasons for this. If we kind of go over some of these things, where is right here? We got Japan's prime minister just said that Bitcoin and crypto is a once in a century opportunity. These are the leaders of major economic zones in the world that are talking about these things. From El Salvador, which is smaller, of course, but they've made waves on the world stage. Bhutan mining. We see the United Arab Emirates also has $700 million that they have acquired through mining and other investments, not confiscation like in the US. So actual investment into the Bitcoin infrastructure. Amazing. And then we've got other, Argentina, Brazil, Panama. We have the world leaders that are not only speaking positively about this, sometimes this is a foreshadowing for what they're going to be moving into, but also other world leaders that are also already actively integrating into Bitcoin as part of their national strategy. Now, this is very important. So when we're realizing this and we see the price action, we go, wait, we're worried about a crash? Take the damn word crash out of your vocabulary. A crash is what you saw in Terra Luna when the market completely went to zero in the matter of about 3 days. That's a crash. When we're looking at this on a 4-hour chart and we see opportunity show up in patterns and structures that we can quantify and that we can weigh different data sets against to give us probabilistic risk managed ways to move into or out of positions, to trade or invest, then we can understand that a move down to the 98,000, like Colin Talks Crypto was highlighting, or potentially down to that CME gap in the 92 range, this area would be a dream to be able to get. Because the long tail, looking at where Bitcoin and thus the crypto market as well is going, is only more integrated. It's only more embraced by not only the world elite, but also us having the possibility as retail to stack before them, because a lot of them are just waking up to this. So let's hope for a move down to this level. In fact, I still think this is about a 25% possibility we come down in here. It's my opinion that the more likely scenario, and either could happen, the more likely scenario would be this being a bit of a bear trap down, come back up, basically have some trouble here in the 112 region. Why? Because we have a massive trend line coming across and a descending level of resistance right in the kind of creates a target as these intersect. This would be an area I'd be watching. But then, of course, coming over to the liquidation. Sorry about that. Coming over to the liquidation heat maps, we're looking at all of this zone up in here where there's a lot of liquidity above us that this may move up into and then reverse and come back down. This all depends on timing to me. If the market moves up to 117 today, I would put pretty strong probabilities that the market would probably have a large washout back to the downside before the FOMC meeting. If this slowly works its way up here, rejects, comes down, and then pushes up into this, in a more controlled manner, and that is like all leading up into the FOMC meeting in 2-3 weeks, that would be a much more controlled sort of stairway, foundational chart patterns and structure built on the way up there. that would give me more indication that we'll probably slice through it. So how quick we get there and the pattern structure on the way there, the price structure on the way there will be a key indication to me and an immediate just bias sort of acknowledgement. Is this likely to push through with continued bullish momentum, or is this likely an impulse to scoop up liquidity and then reject back down and wash more people out? Understanding these things really helps you not get trapped by your bias. Sean Miller says, appreciate this as I learn. I am attempting a barbell strategy while swing trading on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. So I feel like this aligns with my strategy. Shout out to you. Big appreciation to you. B team. The Japanese are smart. That's right. Konnichiwa. Oh, hisashiburi desu. Oh, hajime mashite. Keri desu. My ex-wife is Japanese. So like born and raised in Tokyo. So I know a little bit. Sidetrack me there with the Japanese. Shout out to Alexander G2, always showing love here and helping out with things when she can. What are your predictions for the next 3 to 4 weeks? I've been talking about this for the last month. Jackson Hole kind of catalyzed it in a potentially more bullish setup. Let me say this again. What's my expectation for Bitcoin and the crypto market for the next 2 to 3 weeks? The Jackson Hole a conversation from Jerome Powell unwound some of the bearish or the uncertainty and the risk off sort of narrative. The market's trading a little bit, or at least for a moment was trading a little bit more bullish expectation about a FOMC rate cut. But up until we get the rate cut or a distinction about what clearly is going to happen, I think the market's going to be a little choppy into that. There is high expectation and then over exuberance in the leverage and the perpetuals and derivatives market. Funding rates went high, and then so the market washed that out, kind of moved back to the downside, clearing out, scooping up some of that liquidity. I expect until we get a clear indication about what's going to happen with the Fed, FOMC meeting, and also this whole thing with one of the Fed governors being potentially fired and removed, there's back to a little bit of an unshaky ground until we actually get some of that data. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Now, coming back over to the screen, we've also got people so worried. And while people are so worried, SharpLink bought 250 million more ETH while everybody's worried. Remember, we showed some of these charts yesterday, and we've been doing this consistently over the last few years, that the moments of peak fear is when you start seeing, major buys by some of the biggest monies, biggest wallet, accumulated players, but also just addresses that are associated with accumulating. And so as people have been fearful in the last several weeks, in the last couple months, on any time we have dips, you see retail panic and you see big money who's already got big money. They're buying up those scared bags from the retail that are worried. Now, what is the reason for that? Well, retail tends to over leverage themselves, and you could not be trading on derivatives and leverage. You could be trading spot, meaning $1 for $1 worth of Ethereum, or $1 for $1 value worth of Bitcoin. Leverage is when you trade $1 and you want a 3x return. So you're basically doing a small bit. Basically, you're literally borrowing some money from an exchange to make up that difference. If I want to trade $100 or $10,000, I can use, 1/10 of that and have a multiplier on it. And basically you're borrowing that difference from the exchange, but then you have a margin. Then you have an area that can be margin called, forced closed, or forced short if the market moves in the opposite direction. The difference here is some people think they're trading smart because they're trading on spot, meaning they're not using derivatives, they're not using leverage, they're just being smart, but they're still over leveraged because they put far too much exposure in the market, and now they need that asset to perform well. So if you need the asset to perform well, or you're not going to be okay, you're over leveraged. That's just a fact. Even if you're trading spot, I don't care if it's $10, $100, 100 million. Everybody's in a different economic strata. Everybody has different life requirements, budget needs, but also emotional ability to manage and navigate these markets. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by these market moves, then you're over leveraged. You need to de-risk or change or learn so you have a better understanding of the market, so you don't get so frustrated. Good morning, Kelly and BitLab fam. Ricky Ross, Peter John Lurum, Pretty Rich, Bro Koshi. It's always good to see you here. Objectively Real, Hernanov. How you doing? Julio. It's me and Julio down by the schoolyards. How you doing? Let's get back into this. I got some other things I want to share with you because we got some good stuff. Of course, you've all seen this Trump Media Group Crow strategy to buy 6.42 billion for Crow Digital. The Crow chart absolutely exploded. I do expect a bit of a sell-off after the exuberance because some people know about this. The market moves up from some of that, but then the news gets out and everybody goes, I want to get a part of that. And then there's people that buy all the way into somebody else's exit liquidity. The market softens, comes back, retraces a little bit. People sell because they're scared, and then it rebounds back to the upside. So we're going to take a look at this on the charts here in just a second. But we also see Chainlink. Bitwise has filed an S1 with the SEC to launch a Chainlink ETF. This would be phenomenal because I do think that I'm still expecting that we're going to start to see Chainlink corporate reserve strategy, sort of similar to what we're seeing with like MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy, or SharpLink being an Ethereum strategy company for their treasury. I think that because Chainlink is so integrated in bridging Web 2 and traditional finance to the blockchain world, but then also interconnecting all of what's going on with major data and Oracle needs, but it also the cross-chain interoperability protocol. For all these RWAs, a lot of those things are going to require oracles, and Chainlink is the dominant oracle within the crypto ecosystem. And all, guys, proof of reserves, all this. I do think that beyond just an ETF, there's going to be some corporate Chainlink reserve strategy companies coming out here. So that's only going to increase buying. Not to mention Chainlink, remember, launched their own reserve that they're buying back, their own treasury. They're buying back Chainlink based on transactions and volume and fees and all this sort of stuff. And remember, their real fee structure goes live in November. So there's going to be a lot of don't think of it as burning, but a reduction of supply when they're buying back as well, increasing demand and reduction of supply. And then here we go yet again. Everybody's so worried about the price action. And yet the only thing that's happening right now is something we see regularly throughout a bull market. Now, remember, this is a cycle of broken expectations. So in a bull market, historically, the price action has come back to the STH cost basis. What is this? The short-term holder cost basis. What is this? These are coins that have moved, meaning I have it, I sell it to you. I don't care if I've held it for 14 years. If I sell that coin to you, now when you hold it, that coin, until you've held it for at least 155 days, that coin is a short-term held coin. So it's the average cost of every coin the last time it was moved in those 155, basically the short-term held coins. So what you're seeing is the average here. When price gets below it and is rejecting, these tend to be the bear market. When price is basically doing these positive spreads, breaking out, finding support, once you get down to the point where you're washing all the short-term retail soft weak hands out. But what we've seen this cycle is interesting because we've had these periods where it hasn't been a day or 2 days. It's been like a couple weeks where the price action has dipped below. I remember back here, people thought this was going to look like the 2019 cycle where you had that fake run up, the sell off COVID, and then the parabola. But no, this just really chopped some people out, came back up, came back, tested near the short-term holder cost basis, pushed back up, look, tested right at the short-term holder cost basis. Now, yet again, this is that cycle of broken expectations. We had the pre-halving new all-time high, which we'd never had. And so in some ways, I think this was more of like a mean reversion, kind of, correcting the opposite direction and then getting back to normal and good. Retest again. Now, yet again, we had the move to the downside back up. Now, the question is going to be right here. Does this have to hold 108.8? No, it doesn't. In fact, we've seen this cycle already have the washout moves to the downside. And this is very much in line with what we talked about right here. Let's go out to the 12-hour. Remember, this move down here would represent coming down below 108, down below, at 100 or below. If the price action loses $100,000 on Bitcoin, you're going to see probably a pretty big opportunity because somehow this psychological number People think it's over if it loses this. No, I think if we lose this, it's going to be a pretty big move down into the zone. And then you get the move back out, something like that. So let's just be prepared. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying be prepared if it does happen. Okay. When you buy a car, you're not ridiculous on a sunny day. If it is sunny as hell, it's perfect weather. What do? Your car has windshield, has windshield wipers, right? It's waterproof, and you're buying it on a sunny day. Now, why is that? Because you want to be prepared for if it does rain, right? You put a seatbelt on, even if you've never been in an accident, you put on a seatbelt because you want to be prepared in the small percentage case that you could get in an accident. Now, in the case with the charts, when we're looking at these charts, I'm very bullish, but I'm not ruling out this possibility. I'm prepared for that. I am not expecting this possibility. I'm preparing if that were to happen. But I'm also prepared by, I'm not just going to sell here and just like, I'm prepared by selling here and I'm going to buy when it goes back down here. No, you're going to wreck yourself because if you do that, it doesn't go there. And then you just basically completely jacked yourself out of this market. You continue to generate capital flow in your life, save money. It could just be not going out to eat 3 times this week, putting that money aside. Everybody has a different mechanism to limit their spending in life or also generate more cash flow so they have more dry powder to deploy when they need to. Or if you have another altcoin that's up tremendously, you could take some profits on that into stablecoin, and then you could set up some limit orders down here in the 105s, down here right at the 100,000, and then somewhere down here, I would say probably 96 to 98,000. Basically ladder entries. If the price does go there, then boom, 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 you get the average entry of those zones before it moves back to the upside. If this happens, depending on what's going on with ETH at the time, this could spell a pretty big pullback in the alts. If ETH holds relatively steady and this happens on Bitcoin, then alts are going to absolutely boom after this all recovers as well, because that will show a lot of strength in the alt market. Now, we got a couple other things as well, and this is super bullish. Bitcoin cycle peaks, crypto cycle peaks, liquidity adjusted macro cycle peaks, and monthly RSI peaks all tell a story. This is not done yet. We're not anywhere near top. Look at this. See this median line? This was the real start. See this, the breakout here? That was a real start. Breakout here, that was before the start. We're not even at the starting line for the most explosive price gains in the crypto market. And yet people think we're coming into the end of the 4-year cycle. And so it's going to top because we're scared and we don't understand that this market's setting up for success. Guys, we need to look at the data. Stop getting so tied into old narratives because of old cycles, because of this. No, everything's different. Everything is different. And that sucks to say in a market because it always gets proven untrue. But when you look at the landscape of what's going on around the crypto market, and not just with Bitcoin, with the legislation, with crypto corporate treasury companies, and it's not just Bitcoin. There's, you got Ethereum, you got Solana treasury companies, we got Chainlink ETFs getting applied for, XRP still very much in that corporate and retail news. But then beyond that, you even have things like Dog, which is a meme coin on Bitcoin. Dog has a publicly traded company out there that has Dog as part of their corporate crypto treasury. So the landscape of crypto is changing in ways that we can't even imagine. Not only to even consider that all of this is just the doorway was just built and opened by the US government and other world governments. And beyond that doorway opening up, now we have the interest and the awareness and the knowledge growing and the ability to start integrating and implementing stablecoins and the rails that stablecoins go on, which are altcoins, right? Ethereum, Solana, Tron, Cardano. The list is endless. Avalanche. Then we have the data between all those, like Chainlink and Pith. Then we have the AI narratives. I mean, what we're about to see is nothing short of phenomenal. And the data is showing we're not anywhere near what that top would be. And then you see this right here is another one. We're seeing the NVRVZ score assesses if Bitcoin is overvalued or undervalued. And then we also have this right here from Decode. This is his macro trend oscillator, which I've shown you guys before. But notice this. The flippening from red to green is at the start of this move. The flippening from red to green is setting up before the start of this move. We just now ticked into green, and the MVRVZ score is not anywhere near this. A lot of letters there. If you don't know what this is, market value to realized value. So this is the spread right here of how far the exchange traded price, how much Bitcoin is trading for, versus the cost of every Bitcoin in circulation the last time it was sold. So when you get these very high moves up like this, you're getting this price runaway from the realized value. And it's marked incredibly where cycle tops are. We're nowhere. We've never gotten that move this cycle. We've in fact had incredibly constructive moves to the upside. And ETH is just waking up. And when we look at ETH, we're going to look at this one in a second. When we look at ETH, we see, look at this. It's just, I mean, we're just now hitting all-time highs. We're just now hitting all-time highs since back here in October 2021. Phenomenal. This is phenomenal, everybody. And now, as this is happening, I have it on another chart right here. As this is happening, we also see the ETH to Bitcoin ratio. I feel like I'm on different chart. That's right, because I am. There we go. So let's go back here. The ETH to Bitcoin chart is a pretty interesting chart. And look at this. We talked about this yesterday. This multi-year trend line, this down trend line right here. This goes back into 2022, September 2022, okay? Resistance all the way along. And this is ETH to Bitcoin, which is going to be a major signal for what we're seeing in alts. Is Bitcoin taking the majority of the capital share of the market and all the attention? Well, then this would be going down because that's what we've been seeing. Look at this 987-day downtrend for ETH. This is why the altcoin market has sucked for the last 2 years. And then now we're getting the move up, and this has come right in to the box that we talked about, this downtrend resistance interacting right here with this previous range lows right here. We see the ETH to Bitcoin price action. Boom, push up, bull flag, push up, kind of a bit of a bull flag, push up. Didn't quite get to the target. The target would be up here, but we're right at a key juncture. So the fact that we're slowing down here at the moment doesn't bother me because it's coming into a key zone. If this rotates down for a bit, this will give us some accumulation opportunities in the alts and stuff like that. But things are feeling good in this market. It's Link. I mean, with that news from the Bitwise ETF, but more so, let's take off all the lines here. Double click on the chart there, minimize. I mean, this just looks like a massive accumulation. In fact, when we turn on the lines, here we go. We have massive downtrend resistance, rejection there, support there. So you have the rejection there, support there, and then rejection there. This is very valid. Comes back, rejects, comes up. Where is it stopping at? Retesting a previous mid-range high right here. Now, if this has a little bit of a, breakdown, great. Because if this has a breakdown here, if you understand this, it doesn't bother you in the market when you have pullbacks. Because you see a shape that could be forming here. If this is like this and you get another pullback down here, oh my God, I get another opportunity for Chainlink at $20. And then the market then rebounds. Then you have an inverse head and shoulder. Now you can target out of this, boom, up into that. The target just from this would not necessarily be the top of the market. Just from this pattern here, the target on this, if this were to form, will be up here to a new all-time high, about $67, which would be a pretty substantial move from where we're at here. That would be 180% move. But the point here is this shouldn't bother you that it's not running away yet. Good, build some structure. Build some structure because we're starting to see the signs on Bitcoin that we might be getting a bounce. So let's see, come over here to the 4 hour, 8 hour, double click here. You see, we have lower lows on price action, lower lows on price action. It's actually getting more low right here, right? RSI is holding up. We got a bit of a bullish divergence. Money flow, it's actually better here on the 4-hour. See that? Money flow, bullish divergence on money flow. And if this kind of holds in this zone, this could just be forming a W formation. Again, this is on the very near term. This is a 4-hour chart. If this is lost, great. We already have our targets below. I would say about 105 would be one target. 105.4 and then down to 101. And then if we lose those areas, I think we are going to make those swings like we talked about, but we already talked about those. But let's look at Crow, because Crow got a big old move after the Trump media. Look at that. Let's go to the daily, double click here. All right. So what do we see? I mean, just positive news. RSI broke out of a trend. What do I mean? There we go. You see, we had a bit of bearish divergence here, but this is one of the things you have to realize. You got bearish divergence. Well, why didn't it go down? Well, it did. It just got kind of nullified. See this right here? Boom. That is right here. Bearish divergence formed. Price did go down, except it found support. And there was a massive news. The president, the company of one of the companies of the president's, let me say that again. One of the companies of the current president of the United States just announced that they are basically working with Crow, right? For whatever reason, their Crow reserve strategy. And so what we see here, look at this massive volume. So the bearish divergence did play out. It was just that found support. And now we got this speculative pump. I wouldn't be surprised to see this come back down to about 17 cents. Let's go to the 4-hour and let's actually go to the 15 minutes. So yeah, that would be right here, previous range high. I'd be looking at a pretty good opportunity there at 17 cents. If it loses that, I think it's going to come a bit lower. Solana made it almost up to our target that we've been talking about for about 5 months. And that is up here back into the $220 range, right? It topped right at that bar when we've had this here forever. But this would be, everything's just kind of I still think we're going to get some sideways, exciting, scary, all the way through, I would say middle third week of September, FOMC meeting. And then if we don't get the rate cut, then I do think we have a pretty big spill and then a launch. If we get the rate cut, but then soft language around it, we'll have to see how that plays out. But I think there's still there's like a complete reshaping of what the U.S. government looks like since January 20th, for better or worse. That's just the case. We're looking at the markets, and the markets are trying to decide from, I don't know what's going to happen next, sort of mind frame, because so much has changed. So we got to hedge ourselves a little bit, be a little bit safe, be smart. I love you guys. Aloha, Brad, bring me a higher low. Yeah, but let's look at Ondo real quick, actually, and then I got to run over to the new studio to finish setting that bad boy up. I can't wait to get that done so I can. There's a lot more content I want to be doing, and I just been sidetracked by that. All right, 3-day chart. Okay. I mean, guys, I still think beautiful setup here, right? It's kind of setting a base, waiting on the Kraken to be released. Remember, September 3rd, global markets. I would be a little hesitant on that, depending on how it rolls out. I'm already stacked on Ondo, but if the market is kind of getting in a depressive, meaning it's not super bullish between now and then, that could be buoying the price right now, because the market's not pushing up, but it's also, this is not really falling. It's kind of just sitting in this zone. Once global markets happens, you might get a bit of a sell-off if it's a bit of a nothing burger. If it's like monumental and they have 20 or 30 incredible assets that are launched and they have huge appetite, then it could boom. For me, this is something I'm looking at develop into the swing back to the upside, especially with what we're seeing with Ethereum. And so that's going to be a pretty big barometer as to what's going on there. Then we got BNB. Remember, new all-time highs, new all-time highs, new all-time highs. But, everybody thinks it's over because you get a dip. Oh my God, it's over. Oh my God, it's over. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to get another move back down into, you know, $100 down or so, somewhere in the 770s. Just be a little cautious here because remember, this is a cycle of broken expectations. Everybody keeps expecting, because we got governments, we got corporations, we got big pockets, we got everybody's waking up to crypto. Why isn't it going parabolic? Because everybody's aware of that and they're going leverage long, and you get funding rates that are ridiculous. And so the market says, I'm going to humble your ass right here. Let me take all your money, sir. And Silky is going to come back and say, do you want to play again? And that's what happens in this market. People get too exuberant about going all in on a move because they charted it or they saw somebody else chart it. And the market does go exactly where you charted it to go, but it wicks down, washes you out. That's how I lost almost $100,000 in 2 trades. Price went exactly where I thought it was going to go, but I was a little over leveraged, and the price literally wicked within, like, basically it was like $1 past my liquidation zone, and then completely slingshotted from there. And that's why we look at these liquidation levels so much on these charts, because it kind of gives you an indication what some of these other players are looking at. And we do have that magnet to the upside right now, in terms of all this liquidity that's above us. So let's be a little bit patient here. And remember all those altcoins that you're holding. Bitcoin's got a magnet to the upside. Ethereum's waking up. We got different altcoin treasury companies that are coming out with Solana and Ethereum. I think Chainlink's going to be one of the next ones. But then we also see the others chart, others divided by ETH, meaning everything outside of the top 10. So everything out of the major players, everything else, not these, everything else. And you weigh those against Ethereum and, okay, look at this. Okay, this has been falling, but we don't just look at price action or the price chart, right? We look down at the data, and what do we see? And DZ, shout out to him for pointing this out to me. You see the price move down, great, but what does the data show? If we look at the RSI here, zoom in on this, this is a weekly chart. What do you see right here? This is the lowest the strength has ever been. So that means you sell, right? In my opinion, absolutely not, because when you get something that's gone that far down, setting the record of the lowest the strength has been, aka the most oversold everything outside of the top 10 has been. At minimum, I'm expecting a pretty substantial bounce from here at some point. Even if it does this and goes lower, this would be monumental growth within some of those alts that you're holding. So be smart, allocate correctly, take risks, but do it in a risk hedge manner. You don't put 50% of your portfolio into an altcoin. Into a meme coin. You don't put 50% into some coin that this guy told you about on YouTube. Figure out the different utilities and integrations and places where you think capital is really going to move, real use case is going to be deployed, and real user adoption and fees and all, basically profits are going to be generated within those coins. And that's how you really assess, taking calculated risks in the alt sector of the market. But guys, there's a lot coming. Shout out to everybody here. Big love to each and every one of you. I got to roll. I got to run over. I got to walk the dog real quick. Then I got to run over to the other studio. And big love to you all. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Stick around. Drew will be live on Discover Crypto in about 30 minutes or so. I'll just have this redirect you over there. Head over there from here as this ends and hit the like button on the other one. These things help. You guys, when you guys interact, you live chat, when you throw a thumbs up or you subscribe to the channel, get in our Discord. We got a whole crew over here working hard for you guys, and we love being here with you, and really excited about what we got coming on. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Find gratitude in your heart, forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for others. Be appreciative of the opportunities that are present for your ability to ambulate and move your body, to have internet, to have a computer, to have opportunity in crypto, to have friends, to have family, to have food. Let's be more grateful, guys. We live better than most kings did for all of human history until the last 60 years. Now all we do is compare ourselves to somebody that's above us. And so we think our life is shit, and that's not what we do. We're going to find gratitude. We're going to live well. We're going to love each other. I love you guys. I appreciate you. That's all I got. I got to fix my mic. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming and bring me a higher low. Adios.